your own. You didn't get it on your own.
God helped you get what you got.
Yeah, and you use somebody else to get what you got. Woo!
Man, Brother Tyrone, we getting deep tonight, buddy.
Let's go down to racism or originated, brother. Right there on second, right there at the back page. Racism originated.
I got it.
Okay.
Right here.
Yes, sir.
Racism originated with the modern slave trade.
Yes.
Just as the slaveholders of ancient Greece and Rome created an ideology, there it is again, ideology.
There it is.
It's an idea.
That's right.
That the barbaric slave system was natural.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
So did the modern slave-owning class.
Meaning the white brothers.
There was one important difference.
Uh-huh.
According to them, slavery was natural because of race.
See, because since your skin is lighter than mine, you better than me.
I like what it said right now.
Come on now.
Africans were not human beings,
Uh-huh.
and therefore they were born to be slaves.
Why weren't they human beings? We still got 2 legs, 2 arms, just like everybody else got.
Because the white man said so.
See, that's where the problem comes in. When we think that we are better than somebody else and higher than somebody else, we have created the worst evil in mankind's history. Because then we start.
You said, a man that soweth will also reap it.
He's gonna reap it. He's gonna reap it because he got it. Because you're trying to. You know, I was thinking about this thing yesterday. You know, God was the one that created life. Nobody has no right to take anybody else's life because you didn't give it.
That's God's.
That's right.
God's choice.
That's right. Well, you said, well, my wife and I had a baby. We had sex and this and that. And I produced the baby. You ain't
no.
done nothing.
God produced that baby.
That's right.
Because in my religion, we're Christian based here, but when I hear the bang your name religion,
That's right.
But my religion, before we came to earth, we chose to come to earth. We didn't say, I'm born. We chose to come to this world to go through the trials and tribulations so that we can return to the Heavenly Father.
That's right. That's right.
Let me read the rest.
Go ahead, brother.
As historian Eric Williams writes in his book, Capitalism and Slavery, slavery was not born of racism. Rather, racism was the consequence of slavery.
There it is. Because the white brothers felt if they can bring the African Americans from Africa to the New World and do these things and they make them work for nothing, then that's when they feel if they're going to be slaves, then we're better than they are. Because they ain't going to never learn. We ain't going to let them learn nothing. Nope. We ain't going to let them do what we do, what our children do. So that means we are superior.
Let me read this right here.
Good God, brother.
If racism had existed prior to the slave trade,
yes,
then Africans would have been the first group of people to be enslaved.
That's right.
But in the early years of colonial America, slavery was not racially based.
That's right.
Initially, the colonists attempted to enslave Native Americans.
Indians. But the Indians were
They also imported thousands of white indentured servants.
Okay.
White servants were treated like slaves.
Okay.
They were bought, sold, put up as stakes in card games, and raped, beaten, and killed with impunity.
Go into the next brother.
Not only was servitude a multiracial institution, in the early years of colonial America, let me ask you a question.
Yes.
So black people weren't the first people that were enslaved. It was the white man.
Well, they had indentured service. Now, I'm going to say this, and not to be offensive to anybody here. You know how you got, they said, trailer trash, white trailer trash, meaning white people that live in trailers and stuff like that. They are, you got poor people in every race.
Yep.
And what happened there? You had some white people that were poor, and so they put them in slave as well.
Yep.
But they wasn't treated as bad as the blacks was.
Exactly.
You see what I'm saying?
So black people were treated like they had no resistance.
That's right. That's right. So that comes down. Ooh, I ain't gonna say that right. We gonna get to it in a minute. I'm hold on to it. I'm hold on to it until we get to that point because I want to.
America. There was also a surprising degree of equality between blacks and whites.
Yes.
For example, in 17th century Virginia, blacks were able to file lawsuits.
Yes.
Testify in court against whites, bear arms, and own property.
Yes.
Including servants and slaves. In other words, 17th century blacks in Virginia had more rights than the blacks in the Jim Crow South.
That's right. That was in the 20th century.
During the 20th century.
That's right. All right. So let's go down to this. We basically dealt with this stuff and how. Let's go down to the very end here, brother. Right here where it got the 4 stars. I want you to read that.
As Williams summarized this process, here then is the origin of Negro slavery. The reason was economic, not racial. Oh, it had to do not with the color of the laborer, but the cheapness of the laborer.
Oh, okay.
This was not a theory. It was a practical conclusion deduced from the personal experience of the planter. He would have to go to the moon if necessary for labor. Africa was nearer than the moon.
You see that? They forced their will on the African Americans, forced them on a ship, put them in slavery, brought them here to work for little or nothing. The same thing what they do now in our society with the Mexican Americans. The Mexicans have come across, give them little or nothing, or they ship the jobs overseas. That's why our economy is the way it is, because we ship all the jobs over there for cheap labor, but the product when it comes back, it ain't worth a dime. You see what I'm saying? So we get
the most important reason
yes.
that the slaveholding class created a racially based slave system was not economic but political. The age-old strategy of divide
and rule. If you can divide a family like in slavery,
you can rule them.
You can rule them. You take the men from their fam, from their wives, and then you control the men. Then you divide, and then you can rule that man. There it is. Oh my God. All right, brother John, I'm going to read Atlantic Slave Trade, and boy, we're going to get down some deep stuff here. While the existence of slavery is arguably the root of subsequent conceptualizations of African Americans, the origin of African enslavement has a large economic foundation. What we said, they made the white Americans, or or we call Europeans that came to Africa and then brought us back to the States, or wherever else they brought us, during that time, it's all about making money, building wealth off of our backs. All right. Among the Europeans, the elite who structured national policy throughout the age of the Atlantic slave trade, there existed a popular, there the word again, brother Josh, ideology, thinking, all right, called mercantilism. That's talking about selling of goods. They sold slaves, they made slaves work in the fields, all that stuff they made money of. You know, I'm gonna tell you a story. I'm gonna tell you a story about my aunt. She's dead now. She grew up during the slave era, not the slave era, but she worked on the farm. She worked on a plantation it had to be back in the 20s. It had to be back in the 20s or 30s. And she told me that each year, the white master or the white person that was in charge of the land, owned the land, would rent them so much land. Okay, they was raising cotton or whatever they was raising, and if you produce so much, whatever's left over, that's yours for your family. But she said every year when crop time came and they took the crop and stuff into the city, or into the you know, I guess the city, you can call the city part of the country, and took it in to sell it, what would happen was the white owner would always say, "We even." How in the she got very upset about that.
Owed him money.
Owed him money after all that work they did out there in that field from sun up to sundown, and we don't get nothing. Taking advantage. You gonna get all this if we don't get nothing.
Exactly.
See? Taking advantage. There it is. Okay, or the belief that the policy pursuit was centralized around military powers and economical wealth. They attribute the value of colonial possessions as a source of mineral wealth and raw materials as a means of exporting products to the home country. And that's what they basically did. And as a result of these debated elements, the Atlantic slave trade arose, according to the Transatlantic Slave Trade database, between 1626 and 1850, an estimated total of 305,326 slaves were forcibly transported via U.S. vessels to the Americas. Furthermore, approximately 1 Southern family in 4 held slaves prior to the war. According to 1960 U.S. Census, there was about 385,000 slave owners out of approximately 1.5 million white families. It's terrible. And you say that you better. We need to get this right.
All right.
All right, bro.
Anti-Semitism.
Now we're gonna get down to tip. Now we're gonna switch up and go to the, as you say, go to the white side. All right.
Is discrimination against or prejudice or hostility toward Jews.
All right.
The Holocaust.
Yes.
The Holocaust is an event central to our understanding of Western civilization, the nation state, and modern bureaucratic society, as well as human nature. It was the premeditated mass murder of millions of innocent civilians.
Yes.
Driven by a racist idea.
There it goes again. The ideology is taught behavior
That regarded Jews as parasitic vermin.
Mm-hmm.
Worthy of only eradication. I said that right?
That's right. You did.
The Nazis.
The Nazis.
Nazis.
Meaning Hitler and all. We'll talk about that in a minute.
Ugly Jew. Ugly Germans. The Nazis implemented genocide on the unprecedented scale.
Uh-huh.
They slated all of Europe's Jews for destruction.
Yes.
The sick and the healthy, the rich and the poor,
Mm-hmm.
the religiously orthodox and converts to Christianity, the aged and the young, even infants.
All right, let's talk about this about the Jews and because see what happened was with Adolf Hitler, anything that he thought was against.
Well, he didn't think was white.
yeah, because it goes back to that white supremacy type thing.
He said if can I remember this studying this in school?
Okay, go ahead.
He said, the teacher explained it this way. He said,
Mm-hmm.
Adolf Hitler, if he didn't have blue eyes or blonde hair, he was not considered an American, a person.
Okay.
That's what he said.
Okay. All right. Well, let's look now at the ideology of the Nazis and the Nazi race. Go ahead and read that, brother Josh.
Adolf Hitler,
The
Führer, also the leader of the Nazi Party, formulated and articulated the ideas. There it is again, the ideas.
There it is.
That came to be known as Nazi ideology.
Yes.
He thought of himself as a deep and profound thinker, convinced that he had found the key to understanding an extraordinarily complex world.
Yes.
He believed that a person's characteristics, attitudes, abilities, and behavior were determined by his or her so-called racial makeup. In Hitler's view, all groups, races, or peoples, he used those terms interchangeably, carried within the traits that were immutably transmitted from one generation to the next.
All right.
No individual could overcome the innate qualities of race. All of human history could be explained in terms of racial struggle.
See, there he is with the idea. So he's saying that all race is not equal. He's separated right there. So if you black, you gonna do this certain thing. If you're Jewish, you this. If you this, he was against homosexuals, he was against blacks, but mainly he was against Jews because he knew Jews stuck together. They worked together. They were raised by. So he was going to clean house. You know, ideology. There goes back to the words you talked about before, Brother Joshua. What the brother talked about the fear of retribution. So he wanted to take control. You see what I'm saying? And that's what we get in trouble at. When we feel that we're better than somebody else, eventually it's going to come back and bite you in your butt. Eventually. Because you're not going to be able to survive. You may live for a while. All right? You may think you living good now, but it's going to come back. God is not going to let you prosper. All right? You know, and that's where it comes down. And you can test this, Brother Josh. When it comes down, when a white brother is in corporate America or he loses a lot of money, he does certain things.
It's suicide time.
There it is, because he can't stand the embarrassment. But you
African Americans, they know the struggle.
It's a struggle. Because just like the brother said in the video, African Americans have never said that we are ever better than anybody else because of our skin. Never. And then you get mad, our white brothers, because you say, well, the black brothers, they this and they that, they more racist than we are. No, we're not. Because what this brother said in the video, hate produces hate. Yeah, some of us are mad because what you have done, and we get very upset. Yes, we are. But we didn't start that process. The white community and the white supremacist nation that we live in has created that. So we get upset about that, all right? Then, angry. Yes, we get angry, but we didn't start that. We didn't start it. So don't feel that we're here talking about this to downgrade anybody. We're here to bring this to light to let you know, if you're going to be a real man, you got to squash that, because God is not going to allow it to continue to prosper in your life. And you say you're a man, you're not a man, because you don't even know what true manhood is if you have those type of ideas and beliefs in your mind, in your family. You're teaching your children to do that, and all these things that's going on. God is not going to honor that, man. Good God, Messiah, brother. Whoo, Brother Josh, man. Good God. All right, targeted groups. We will still talk about the Nazis here, brother. Go down to targeted groups.
The Nazis define Jews as a race, regarding the Jewish religion as irrelevant.
Yes.
The Nazis attributed a wide variety of negative stereotypes about Jews and Jewish behavior.
Yes.
Sorry, brother. To an unchanging, biologically determined heritage that drove the Jewish race.
Yes.
Like other races, to struggle to survive by expansion at the expense of other races.
Yes.
While it is classified Jews as the priority enemy. The Nazi ideological, there it is again, the idea.
The idea again, there it is.
Concept of race targeted other groups for persecution.
That's right.
Imprisonment and annihilation.
Yes.
Including Roma, Gypsies.
That's right.
People with disabilities, Poles.
Poles, which is Polish people.
Soviet prisoners of war and Afro-Germans.
Okay.
The Nazis also identified political descendants, Jehovah's Witnesses,
there it is.
Homosexuals, and so-called asocials as enemies and security risks, either because they consciously oppose the Nazi regime, or some aspect of the behavior do not fit Nazi perceptions of social norms.
That's right.
There it is, the norm.
It's a norm. It's a culture that they create. They create this culture.
They sought to eliminate domestic non-conformists and so-called racial threats through a perpetual self-purge of German society.
Okay, there it is. So, out of all that we said, Brother Josh, from white Americans or Europeans, from slave trade to Nazis, how do you feel about all this, and what have you got so far? Or what can you tell them from personal experience of what you feel about all this and being a man?
I hate it. I hate it because who is you to downgrade somebody just because of the way they look, their social class? It's just wrong.
Yeah.
It's like,
it's terrible.
When I think back what happened to the Jews, to the African Americans,
sure.
It really upsets me. Like, really, we put y'all through that. Yeah, y'all have a reason to be angry.
Sure.
Because we put you through something that we wouldn't go through ourselves. So me being white, and I respect every brother out there. Sometimes I have that fear. Sometimes, you know, like. Especially around a group of African Americans, you know, like,
I understand.
Am I going to be okay? But like I said, I'm not racist to the point where I'm gonna blurt out, call you the N-word, because that's racist. Like that was a term that slave owners used that to call them ignorant.
That's what. See, I'm glad you said that because
they think that they're ignorant, like they don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
But yet you're ignorant because you're
absolutely, brother.
You're ignorant because you're doing this to them. So it's a two-way street.
So anybody can be ignorant. Anybody can be an N-word.
Yeah.
Because that's ignorance.
Right.
So if you're being a racist, you're the N-word as well.
Yep.
All right. Come on. All right. Let's get down to World War II, to the Civil Rights era. We're gonna go briefly through this to give you a little background. The Jim Crow laws were state and local laws enacted in the South and border states of the United States and enforced between 1876 and 1965. They mandated separate but equal. How can you be separate but equal? You can't. That's ignorance. If you want to separate people, we just talked about we just talked about that earlier. Divide and rule. If you can divide people away from the mainstream, you can control them. And we just talked about it. It's all about power. It's about greed. It's about fear. It's about dominance. It's about privilege. All right? So in the South, they said you're separate, but you're equal. Status for black Americans. In reality, this led to treatment and accommodation that was always inferior to those provided to white Americans. I can remember well, I was still young at that time, but I can still remember certain things for white onlys, for blacks only. You got separate or equal. Well, the blacks.
And then when you go in the restaurant to order something,
you gotta go around the back.
Yep.
The blacks will go around the back.
And then they won't even give you as much as they give the other people.
So how's that equal?
It's not.
It's not equal. So it's a lie.
And then they give y'all the dirtiest water fountains to drink out of.
See? But it's equal though. It's equal.
Yeah.
There it is. There's a white supremacy again. What the brother was talking about on the video.
And it all started with Martin Luther King Jr.
Well, it started really before then.
No, I'm gonna tell you.
Yeah,
something.
go ahead.
See, Martin Luther King Jr. got tired of it and took a stand.
Yeah. Somebody had to stand up. Yeah.
Because,
yeah.
And who's the guy that killed him?